Yo, yo, yo. My boy's still rocking them canes, baby. You got to. It was a tough
It's a
24, 48 hours for my boy Faro.
it was a tough 24 hours. I mean, what a way to lose both seasons on interceptions. Sunday night, you're
Right?
like, you go 4th and 4, and Caleb Williams makes one
Yeah.
of the greatest plays in probably playoff history in recent
Yeah.
years to throwing a pick, Rams losing to, all right, I still feel good about the Canes, And then you end the season on a pick.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what a
No,
way to go. What a
no,
24 hours.
it was definitely a rough 24 hours for my boy, but I think we pretty much pegged how the game was going to go, and it could have went either way at the end. And we kind of
Mhm.
thought, I mean, I know we talked about before all the idiots out there that just thought it was going to be a steamroll fest, which I don't have any business thinking that. And those people were just, I guess they just want to talk to talk.
It's well,
But
the problem
it was
no,
a
but the
slugfest,
problem
man. It was a great fight.
yeah, yeah. The problem is people get caught up in the recency bias and
Totally. Prisoner of the
narratives
moment.
and, prisoner of the moment, whatever cliche you wanna use, and it's just like, sometimes you just gotta be objective, and like I say, last week, I know I was being facetious with the we're gonna lose by 70 and 75,
Mhm.
and it's just like, if you watch football, if you watch both teams and you watch enough college football this season, how did you go into this game thinking that Indiana was just going to blow out Miami
Right.
when they played a bad offense in Alabama and they played whose quarterback gets hurt, and then you played a bad offense in Oregon who their defense, I was surprised by how their defense played, but the Oregon offense is struggling all year. Um, but yeah, getting into this game, uh, like I say, it didn't end up the way we wanted it to end, but you got to tip your cap to Indiana for sustaining and being able to make enough plays. And I think that's what it came down to where they made enough plays and the Canes didn't in critical moments to why they didn't win. Because if you look at the Canes kind of, the first half started off slow, but the second half, the Canes offense started to pick up, the defense started to pick up. I mean, it was three plays in the whole game. You take out the Carson interception, the offsides by Bain, the block punt, and the missed field goal. I mean, right there is what 20 something points, almost 17 points.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was
17-point swing.
it definitely, the special teams obviously critical mistakes, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you have and we talked about it going into that Oregon game. If in any way Miami spots Oregon any points, like Indiana is so good that they just don't make critical mistakes. They're like
Mm-hmm.
you can't make a critical mistake like that to wait basically where okay, if they block the punt somehow you don't get away with, you hold them to 3 or something. And instead, it's a block
Mm-hmm.
punt in the end zone recovery for a touchdown, um, the missed field goal, you're going to have those, especially on a 50-yarder. I mean, these guys aren't automatic like the pro guys are.
Yeah.
We even said it like I would have, wanted to maybe get a little bit closer to make it a little bit easier kick, but I mean, he just hit it up off the upright. And so, that those were 2 critical mistakes. And then definitely,
Mm-hmm.
Bain being offsides on that one drive that continued that drive where they, scored a touchdown on that drive. But for the most part, it went how I thought it was going to be. It was going to be a damn slugfest, and it was. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
who was going to impose their will, and you really didn't think either team could. And both teams did a great job, early on. I think, Indiana did a really good job of, containing that run game early. And like you said, while we were watching it, when Miami needs to start, hitting some outside runs. They finally do
Mm-hmm.
that, and then what does Fletcher do? Rips off a 57-yard touchdown run. So they made some adjustments, and the wild part too was, man, I watched a clip of somebody had like an end zone copy of like 2.5, 3 minutes of just Bain. Good God, man, he like you
Mm-hmm.
can't respect it until you watch a different copy than just your
Yeah. TV,
TV
TV,
sideline
TV
view.
doesn't do it any justice.
Like, man, that dude is just relentless. And like I say,
One speed.
literally, if Mendoza wasn't like, quick read and he was trying to, do something. He was literally outside the pocket running for his life.
Yeah.
It was you're just getting rid of the ball as quick as possible. So they really got him off his spot too, which was big. But the big part that we talked about that they were able to connect on some of those back shoulder throws that were just like, sometimes they're like the impossible guard sometimes. And they kind of picked on O'Connor a little.
That was tough. That's tough coverage.
Totally. It's like that's why it's like, when you can connect on those, it's like a cheat code. And so they did a good job on some of that stuff, but for the most part, a couple of those Charlie Becker catches, that was the thing. Surratt, normally he's Mr. Reliable. He had like 2 drops and 2 shaky plays where that could have continued to drive and they didn't. Cooper had a couple nice big catches. I thought Indiana did what they wanted to do as much as they wanted to, running the game, keeping it a little bit balanced. Miami did a pretty good job of containing it. Like I say, neither team really it was there for the taking. The big pivotal play was, like I say, the block punt to where you're like, okay, man, now they got this. It just seemed
momentum because Miami had the momentum at that point.
The problem was Indiana just always kind of kept like the 2-score lead. Once they got up by 2 scores, then it's like, damn, all right, we got it. Okay, we fought it back to 1 score. Now it's back to 2 scores. So the only time it was a 1-score game was literally that last drive, to where, we had the debate in the house was, should you kick the field goal like there to go up 6 and you can still lose this game, all that, yada, yada, moot point because, Carson throws the pick. Going back to that play is like, I don't know what Carson was looking at, man. It's like, it was a 3-by-1. This is a single side deep ball. And you kind of read that it's cover 2, but there was nobody to detect Sharp to want to come down to even guard the flats.
Yeah.
So he just you got to throw that thing all the way out there and overthrow it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what play it was that they were trying to hit? It was the Tua play at Alabama against Georgia, the touchdown. If you go back and watch the play, it's the same play.
It was a shitty ball, man. He didn't put nothing on it.
Well, 1, it was a shitty ball. 2, there was 40 something seconds left. You didn't need the touchdown right then because even if you score, you only go up 1 and you give Indiana 40 seconds to get field goal range, who has a really good long, kicker that could kick from distance. So it's like I didn't understand if you go back and watch the end zone view of that play. 1, he could have ran out to the left and got 15, 16 yards.
Well, the other thing, Tony was even
Tony was coming on. That was going to be the second thing I said. Yeah. Well,
it was almost like one of those things of like, I'm throwing this. Like it was no reading, no nothing. And it was just like, I don't know. I don't get the play. I don't know if it was the play call comboed with Carson just said he's going to throw this 9 ball or he just, threw it blind in a sense. Didn't read anything.
If you throw it, you got to throw it like how Tua threw it. Tua threw it to the pylon.
It's got to be back corner. Yeah, back corner, like to where only my guy's going to get it. Even a tough play for that safety coming down.
Exactly.
So it was, it was about to be doubled. You had Sharp coming up under, and then you had the safety coming. So you got to put that thing back to the,
dude.
And
like
he
you
threw
say,
it was completely underthrown ball.
When you look at the line of scrimmage, Markel, the left tackle, rode his guy up the field. The other Indiana defensive linemen were slanting towards, just say, the right side of the offensive line. There was a crease he could have walked through and got 10, 15 yards. And like you say, Tony coming under. And it's like, why are we in a rush? But to go back before we get to that moment, it was definitely a game of adjustments. And I thought the first half we were kind of vanilla with the offense.
Yeah, very much so.
And then Shannon Dawson got into his bag the second half. He got into his bag the second half. I don't care what anyone says. And then on the Indiana side, what I did like what they did, like you said, Bain and Mesidor were killing both tackles. Like the whole defensive line was getting off.
Yeah, Moten had a really good game. Yeah.
I think they were getting off in the wrong moments. And the one adjustment that Indiana did do that I did like was they put another tackle outside of the right tackle. I mean, that takes a man off the field. Obviously, it's just a bigger tight end in a sense. So that wide 9 that Bain and
Yeah,
Mesidor
dude,
play
Bane,
got
God,
even
he's
wider.
dude, it was so wide. It was like, good night. I mean,
Yeah,
he's 15 yards away from the quarterback.
yeah, yeah. And that was like I say, it was a game of adjustments. And then, like you say, they really didn't throw the back shoulder majority of the game until those last two drives until they
Yeah.
needed it. The few Indiana mistakes that cost them was definitely the false start on the third
Yeah,
and one.
they got penalized. That's what forced them to have to kick that field goal late to
Yeah,
where they could have maybe
yeah,
got a touchdown and it would have ended it all, you know. I
yeah,
know the other big crucial play was when Kurt Signetti decided to go for it and not kick the field goal on the previous drive with the
yeah,
Mendoza scramble. And then I
yeah.
heard that, apparently Heatherman said that they figured the draw was coming. They were ready for it.
They just didn't
Miscommunication
communicate
on
it.
getting it out there. And,
Yep.
like I say, it was just one of those plays where Mendoza made a heck of a play.
Yeah, you gotta give him credit.
Like,
Like you
I mean,
say, man,
he got drilled. He got drilled. Like I say, those guys it was a war out there, man. I mean, like,
well, the video you sent me with Coogan was talking
yeah,
about it, and he's like,
he's
man, I
dude,
don't.
he's like, that was the best D line I've ever played. It was
Yeah,
like holy shit, these guys were beasts. It was
yeah.
a war of like Mendoza's arm was all like battered and
Mm-hmm.
bruised and bloodied.
Mm-hmm.
He got busted up. Early on that like first drive. It was
But
just
Jacoby, yeah,
yeah.
which
It was like I
was
say,
close because Jacoby could have gotten thrown out for that.
yeah, no, for sure. That was a
That
lucky
was
no
more.
call.
And the thing is, the refs did let them play.
Yeah, no, we
They
talked about
did let.
the good part about it was it wasn't one sided where like, man, they had 4 pass interference calls. Because then
Right.
you could have been like, yeah, Miami had 4 pass interference calls too. So they let them play in the key situations. And, a couple of those DBs definitely were handsy. And like I say, I
Both
kind of
ways.
like that. I like that. So
Mhm.
it wasn't one sided where you're like, oh, Indiana had like 3 no calls and Miami, it was, there might have been a call
Mhm.
or two where you're like, okay, I know some people were, talking about Bain being held. They called holding on Bain. Like they tried to neutralize not having him held by just letting him run wide. And then Mendoza was just like running,
Yeah,
was like
that was
getting rid of it. Like, I mean, it was just like,
the first second drive they called that holding
I
call
mean,
on
it
the
was
right
like,
tackle.
I'm talking about, he had literally 2-second clock, dude. It was like good night. Like,
Well, and that was the adjustment I just didn't understand that took to the second half to run where the Miami DBs were playing off 5 and then bailing another 5, and you're
yeah, because
giving
that's
Mendoza a
where,
10-yard cushion.
yeah, that's where they were hitting those RPO, slant, the glance route.
Yeah,
They were hitting the RPO hitches. It's just a quick read. Okay, the guy's 8 yards off. I'm going to just connect here for 5 yards, take 5 yards. And
yeah,
then, you come back and run it. Like, that was the other thing, too. Indiana, I felt, stayed in good chains action to where Miami put themselves in third and longer situations. And then
yeah,
I will give credit to Indiana in that first half. When it came to some of those third and short situations, they stopped the run. Like you guys
yeah.
got stopped a couple times where that was huge, forced punts, so it was like,
Well,
damn,
I
Miami
think what
can't
it
just
was.
line up and run it right here.
Well, I think what it was is Indiana was prepared for the A gap run, and that's why in the second half that Fletcher run did hit because they had so many bodies in the middle, and those linebackers and those defensive linemen said we're selling out. They were selling out when they felt run, and there was a couple times where me and you were talking about it on the 3rd and 8 in the first half. We felt like Miami could have caught them in a draw, like a
Right.
draw play, and get upfield and maybe put a 4th and manageable to where you're like, should we go for it or not? Like I say, you got to tip your cap to Indiana. The Canes had opportunities. I think when the coaching staff goes back and watches the tape, if they do watch the tape, they're going to see plenty of opportunities that they missed out on. One of the things that you sent me, but I had saw already as well, was the possible fake punt. I mean, the
Oh,
return
yeah.
where I forgot
Yeah,
who
Tony.
posted it
Yeah, I don't know who
when
posted it either.
Malachi he caught it
Yeah,
at
because
the
I
5
was
and there was a
already
throwback.
thinking to myself, I'm like, why are you fielding this punt, dude? Like that
Yeah,
you're putting yourself like, what do we always say? Heels at the 10, set
it was at
yourself
the
up. Like
10.
instead, you had this play set up, but it kind of just didn't work because Indiana
Yeah,
made a hell of a punt,
and
and then you
I
kind of got
think
stuck in catching it, and now you're at your 5. That was the
well,
other
and I think
that was like the
yeah,
hidden stat. Like Miami
yep,
started their starting field position in that second half was at their own 15, 20-yard line.
yep,
And so, like, just to get to where you want to flip the field, you had to gain 30, 40 yards.
mm-hmm,
And then you think about the Indiana scoring drives were all like, I think it was like 12 13 and 14 play drives,
Yeah.
three 6-minute drives. Like that's where time possession early was Indiana, and I think it kind of evened out a little bit. But you also had the Miami explosive plays too, like the big 57-yard run. You had a couple other big plays on that quick drive where Tony scored, and so it kind of like
remember
it balanced itself out a little bit.
Remember me telling you, like on I think the second Indiana touchdown, I was like, this is probably good for us in a bad way because it kind of could flip the field.
Right.
Because like you said, we were so deep in our territory, and every time we punt, they're catching the ball midfield, or even if it's in their territory, it's like the 40, 45. And then, like I say, the block punt was just terrible blocking by the tight end Bauman. Dude, what are you doing? I felt like I think we had the momentum then. Even if he gets the punt off, I think the defense had ratcheted it up to a level to where, like you said, they put the pressure on Indiana, and Indiana was starting to feel it a little bit. You felt it during the game.
Like I say, that third quarter, you go back to it after the Fletcher run. That was making a 10-7 ball game. Literally the very next drive, Indiana went 4 and out. They got one first down, and then they had to punt. But then you guys didn't take advantage and went 3 plays and had to punt. And then Indiana got it back again, 3 plays and punt. It was like back to back to back 3 and outs. And then that was when you finally got the touchdown, to make it a 17-7 game with the big play with Tony. But that's where it's just like both teams had made some adjustments. Both teams were, like I say, the defenses were playing really good in that game. And like I say, it was just a war of attrition. It was a hell of a ball game. And it was like old school football. It wasn't just a defensive 13-10 type game, because there was some big plays from both teams offensively.
We all enjoyed watching.
Yeah,
a game.
Like I say,
the game.
And the crazy part about it is, after all it was said and done, Miami still found themselves with a chance to win the game. And like I say, that's what was even after the mistake of the block punt, all that could have been written off. If you go down and make a big play, don't throw the.
When you think about it, dude, they got down those last 3 drives. I think it was how fast the Canes were getting down the field on that defense, and that's why I was like, "Why are we taking a kill shot? We're taking a kill shot when we don't need it."
10 plays, 81 yards in 5 minutes. That was the cut it to 17-14, and then Indiana went on there. That was a huge drive, the answer drive with the Mendoza touchdown. Because, like I say, that literally put them right back up 10. It was like that was where the Canes needed to buckle down and get a stop.
Yeah.
But then guess what? Miami came right back and went 8 plays. This was the big drive. 8 plays, 91 yards in 2.5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that was where Indiana went on the field goal. To where, like I say, they got the 3rd and 1, had to back them up. They kicked the field goal to put them back up. That by only 6 points. Where all right, Miami can go win this thing. With a touchdown. So. Like I say, it was a hell of a ball game. Kudos to both teams. Like I say, these were definitely the 2 best teams in the country. Like I say, I always felt like Miami all season was the sleeping giant of you don't want to mess with this team. And again, like I told you before, if somehow they don't lose that Louisville game, and then or they don't have the bad calls at SMU, and they were 13-1 or 12-1 or whatever. Those 2 losses gave a little black eye or something, they weren't good. And so when all retrospect, Miami probably shouldn't have lost either one of those games. And these 2 clearly were the best team. And that's why I didn't think, if you watch the season, Miami doesn't play in a game where they're going to get blown out, because they just don't, it just can't happen just the way they play.
They haven't, here's one for you. They haven't given up more than 27 this season.
Yeah,
no team has scored over 27 points this season.
I knew that too, and there was some other stat too that I heard. Can't remember what it was, but it was. I know that was one of them. But they don't they haven't been beaten by, or that's what it was. I don't think Miami's been beaten by more than a touchdown or something in 2 years or something. You go back to even last year when they lost that game to Georgia Tech and Syracuse and all that. They lost those games by 4 points or something. And so it's
every loss this season.
After all the shitty play, against Syracuse, where you're up and then all of a sudden you lose, you still had a chance to win the game or could have won the game. You never was a chance.
I mean, you look at this season. You look at the season. Obviously, the running joke online right now is how Carson has thrown a pick in the 3 losses to end the game. But I think what people are not taking from that is you're still in the game, and those, yes, critical picks, but those were potentially game-winning drives. The
Yeah.
Louisville game, you could have kicked the 3 and gone to overtime, but
Yeah.
you're going for the kill. You're going for the win. The SMU game, it was double overtime, missed calls. Like we said, he threw a pick, and you win it right there. And then this game, and if you look at the totality of the season, if you look at all the games outside of, was it Virginia Tech? I think outside of like Virginia Tech and like obviously the smaller schools, you don't count them. If you look at the Notre Dame game, the FSU game, even the Florida game, the only reason why those teams get back is because we make mistakes and we go in those little lulls where we're just like, it's like they get bored.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then they make
it's the style of play this year, which is different than last year. To whereas like last year you had the high flying Cam Ward just score a lot of points. This was more controlled physicality. We're going to run the football, drown the clock, choke you out type deal. And again, that works, and it worked for them all year. But again, it goes back to, my point where I always say when you play that way and you make mistakes, that's where your margin of error is very thin, to where if you accidentally throw a pick late or you get a block punt, that's your razor thin edge of like, well, damn it, we needed to play a little bit cleaner, and all that. So it's, again, I was listening to this morning about, I think it was Uncle Luke. He was killing Kevin Beard, man. He was like, he's got to go.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like,
I guess what his big thing, and here's what a lot of these South Florida guys think. They think that CJ Daniels and Keelan Marion ain't shit, and like they should have been playing the Miami boys, like JoJo and Josh Moore.
Okay.
And Ray. And here's the thing: I'm not at practice. I don't know what's going on. So you think they're going to play the best guys?
Okay. How about this? We're not at practice. We don't know what goes on at practice.
Yeah.
When Joe, in your opinion, as a wide receivers coach, you were a wide receivers coach. Granted, it wasn't in college, but you were a wide receivers coach. When you saw JoJo on the field and when they were throwing the ball, was he consistent or inconsistent?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He didn't show me anything to where, especially in gameplay. And like I say, I'm not at practice to see if he's smoking the doors off these guys in practice. I have no clue,
But when you see him on Saturdays,
yeah.
And my other thing is, clearly it's not a seniority thing,
right? Because
if Malachi Tony's on the field, so that tells me I'm not knocking Ray and Nikar and JoJo. I think they're good talent. They're great talents when you see them coming, in high school, what they did. And they show flashes, but they just weren't consistent.
Yeah. Now, like I said,
you got to be consistent.
And that's where I don't know there, because
I
guess they were saying that, they were saying Kevin Beard definitely didn't develop Malachi. That was all his dad, and
sure.
So he's not. He's saying they're complaining that they're not developing these other guys, and you basically hit the portal for CJ Daniels and Keelan Moore or Marion and so they're like I say, I think that's a little bit of you should be playing your hometown guys, type thing. But again,
that's just
talk. That's what I'm saying. I haven't seen Ray get on the field and be like, woo-hoo-hoo. Like I've seen him in high school, but again.
But when he's on the feet, like, okay, you can say whatever you want to say about practice or whatever, but when you're on the field, like, when you think about the Canes legends, what do they always say? I had to make sure I stayed on the field because I know if I got off the field, if I got hurt or took a playoff because I was tired, the guy behind me is going to take my position because he's going to be out there and be like, "Oh, it's my time to shine. I'm about to tear it up." And it's like, okay, did they not pick up the offense? And not saying there's favoritism in football. We all know that. Me and you played long enough and been around it long enough to know that there are times where there will be favoritism for certain guys and whatnot. But once again, it's not like quarterback, receiver. There's opportunities to be made when there's 3, 4, 5 guys like Josh Moore. Hey, you got to catch that ball on that screen. Carson probably put it in a bad spot, or you ran the wrong route where you had Markel Bell in front of you. He's getting 10, 15 yards because he threw Pons like to the sideline, basically. So you got to seize your opportunities, and let's see this now with those guys gone, with Marion and and Daniels, they're both gone. What do you do?
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
step up? Clearly, JoJo likes being there. You see it.
Yeah.
You see the videos of him
Yeah,
talking
that's what I'm
and
saying.
like,
Well, like I say, now the next step would be, he steps up to become, that
right.
second guy, and then you have Josh Moore step up. You have some of these other guys,
We
freshmen
got
step up.
Samari and Wingo coming in. I mean, they
Yeah,
got a
right.
couple studs coming in. So it's
Yeah,
like, what do you do? And if those guys come on the field, Wingo, I forgot the other kid, the other true freshman, if they come in and they supplant JoJo and Josh Moore, um, obviously Ray and Nye are gone. And then I start to question, like, so what are you guys doing? Are you guys putting in the extra work?
right.
Maybe you should be with Malachi Tony and sleeping in the facility when him and Keontae were sleeping in the facility and people were making fun of them
Right.
during preseason and all of that. It's like, but what are you willing to do to get on the field?
Yeah.
So, in my not final thing, but the last thing I really want to talk about with the Canes is the last 2 years, this is the window. You had your window. Yeah, the score is
Oh yeah,
on your
27 all.
graphic. Yeah,
I know.
I
It's
would.
gonna
I
go away
wish.
anyways.
Yeah,
Tied. We're
but
going to overtime, baby.
I think the Kane, not saying the window is closed, but the last 2 years, you had a generational offense last year in the
Yeah.
24 season. And I think you had a generational front seven, well, front four. The defense was good. I
Yeah,
mean, you
defense is
add
still
in
really good.
Jacoby and Keontae. Corners were a little weak just due to injuries, and then Xavier Lucas missing the first half. So it's like, what do you do this next year? Obviously, the whole Mendoza thing is not Mendoza, Mensa,
Right.
Darian Mensa from. If we could get Mensa in with all the guys potentially coming in from the portal, can the Canes make another run? But I don't think it'll be like the last 2 years. I think the Canes could contend for the ACC and be in the playoffs. But like I say,
Right.
when you have guys like Bain, Mesidor, Malinoa, Cooper, obviously Fletcher's coming back.
Right.
I give Carson all the credit. Carson turned it around the second half. I know people are still going to criticize him, but there was a couple games we don't win if Carson doesn't play good and not make
Right.
mistakes and be the game manager that they've labeled him.
Right.
So
Yeah. I agree. I
um,
agree.
people get so caught up in when they see numbers. I think people so much box score watch and not actually sit down and watch football to understand that you don't have to throw for 4,000 yards. Like,
But
obviously,
he almost did. That's the other part about it.
that's the crazy thing. Obviously, if Cam Ward would have came back one more year, the offense would have looked different. It would have been a
Right.
high flying. He's calling plays, but every quarterback's not the same. And Dawson tailored the offense to fit Carson. So,
Right.
and I think that's where Dawson doesn't get a lot of credit. So when Mensa comes in next season, the offense is probably going to look closer to Cam Ward than it did this year, to where they're going to be throwing the football. Obviously, they're going to still want to run it, but and then Indiana, like I told you and Chris Saturday night, I want to see Indiana with all their veterans gone.
Yeah.
So many of their guys are gone.
Yeah. They're
Little
losing a lot.
Mendoza's,
They're losing a
yeah,
lot.
both Mendozas are gone. Half your defense is gone. A lot of your half your offensive line is gone. I
Yep.
think Sig is a good coach. Now, what do you do? And I think going into it, you kind of touched on it last week. Like, who was the pressure on to get this W, who to get the chip, because next season is going to look totally different. And
Right.
Indiana did it. So if they don't look great next year, who cares?
Yeah,
They won a national
exactly.
championship.
Exactly. Totally. And I think that's, I think Miami, obviously, you still get some grace because you made it there. You went on the run, you
Mhm.
got there. And here's the other thing: you guys ain't going nowhere either because Mario has established what he's established. Like, you guys probably should have gotten the playoff last year. If you don't blow that Syracuse game, you're in the playoff, and who knows what happens then?
Yeah.
So like the last 2 seasons, Miami has been in the conversation. Make it all the way to the title game. Like, Mario's going to get. You continue to get the South Florida guy like Malachi Tony's, the JoJo's, and then the big thing they're living and dying by is they're just gonna be like, you know what, we'll just get the best portal quarterback, and if they can continue to do that, like, that's where this whole talent transition acquisition, is big. So like the big thing is you better land Mensa, because then like what's the next best guy? Because the portal window, this is it. This is the last one. So because Emory Williams has hit the portal, so he's gone. So like I don't even know who else is available besides Mensa. And is there any technicality that, like, I know Duke's trying to sue and all this other stuff, kind of like the whole Damon Williams thing. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. So
well, I saw earlier that
I haven't really truly dove into it and paid attention. Like,
yeah,
is there a
so
possibility
they're suing him, and so what's probably going to happen is a judge ruled today that he's allowed to enter the portal. Now he has to be in class. I think it was either today or tomorrow. So he may miss the spring window and miss spring ball, but when it's a guy like Mensah that has like a ton of playing time, kind of like Carson, you're not too mad that he's going to miss spring ball. Of course, you want him there, but you know he's going to dive right in the summer session. So, I mean, if you're Miami, you got to find a way to get it done, because you're looking at a bunch of young guys. You're looking at Luke Nickel, Judd Anderson, and Deron Coleman, the true freshman, going into next season. I think they're going to get it done. I know people are mad at it. It is what it is. Guess what? That's where we're at, college football. Me and you talked about it last week, not on the pod, but I don't like where we're at in college football with those situations, and that's coming from a Canes fan. It's like, This is what we're doing. But guess what? Until they change the rules and get some guidelines, teams are going to do it. And if you could get away with it, is it tampering? It can't be tampering if your agent hits someone or someone reaches out to them and say, hey, we're interested in them or whatever. And then kids' eyes get big and it's hard to turn down $4, $5, $6 million. You know, you're going to be making more than what a top 10 pick's going to make going to another school.
Yeah, so, like I say, they're talking about, we're going to pay the buyout, pay this, pay that,
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I say, it's like now that was Miami's dilemma, that they made it this far, into the window of the calendar, to where like literally the portal closed like before the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you had to be in the portal to stay in the portal to go, and then obviously if you wanted to transfer out of Miami or Indiana, you had to wait till your window and your game's finished. So Mendoza, obviously the little Mendoza is transferring to Georgia Tech, and there's going to be some Miami defections. Obviously Emory Williams, whatever,
six or seven,
and so 6, 7. So
no, I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, and within the last 24 hours since the game, there's been
it's and like I say,
most of those guys are backups. So
right. Well, that's basically they're trying to go fight to get a starting job somewhere else.
And guess what? Guess who who I'm excited to see? Did you see the clip of Lightfoot when he threw Black? It was Black or Hemby when he came off the edge, and the back was trying to pass block, and he threw him out of the club.
Yeah.
Whew, Jesus.
Yeah. No,
so we got a lot of young guys. You got Lightfoot, you got Armando Blunt to replace Bain and Mesidor. It won't be the same, but you still have that caliber of guys, like you're saying, to reload. And I'm excited for next season to see what does Texas do? What does Ohio State do? Your Gators with a new coach and keeping your core guys and bringing in some guys. Like, how do you manage the season where the schedule is not like on 100? Right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's tough, but it's not murderer's row.
Yeah, exactly. And then who's going to be the next team that pulls in Indiana? Because it's an even playing field, man. It truly is.
Like Indiana doing what they've done. We've talked about it before. It doesn't even seem realistic, and it was. And it's not. Right. It's not because,
as Joe would say, it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right just because of the logo, I guess. And how bad they've been for so long. But I mean, when you look at the collection of what they did, and like you said, they're gonna lose those coaches in the next year or two, also. So those guys are gonna be head coaches somewhere, and now you're getting the transition of losing guys. I mean, here's what's crazy though. I know me and Joe did talk about it too. Like, they actually won last year. It went 13-2 or whatever it was, lost to the national champion Ohio State team, got routed in that game in the regular season, and ended up losing that first round. Team. Yeah, totally. And then ended up losing that first round game to Notre Dame.
We still don't know what happened in that Michigan game.
Yeah.
If you take that one game out, that team was just special.
Right.
With and guess how they won? With a lot of veteran guys.
Right. And they lost a ton. And but what I was going to allude to is they won with Nathan O'Rourke at quarterback. Yes, Fernando Mendoza is, he was one of the hot portal guys that, a lot of people like from Cal. Big, strong kid. Like I say, we'll see if he's he's going to be a first rounder. And we talked about it. Is he going to be good? And I don't know. I know still people were breaking it down. Like, you look at the game, Monday night, and like, when
We
it was
really won't
literally
know
when
until
you had
he's
to
in
really
another
check.
offense.
Right, I was about to say, because if you're playing for the Raiders and the offensive line is looking like how they did against Ruben Bain and Hakeem Mesidor, and he's running for his life, it didn't look too good. So it's like, it didn't
Right.
look too good to where, you're not going to sit there and RPO in the NFL. So
No.
it's going to be a learning curve. Can he make the throws? Yes, we'll see. I don't know if I'm ready to bet the farm on him being he's going to be probably the first pick, but I don't know if I'm going to bet the farm on him being a guy who's going to, be good 4 years from now.
I'm glad in Chicago we got our guy.
Right.
Our
Yeah,
guy's
exactly.
proven to be that guy, and we're not in that position.
I'm actually glad it looks like Trevor Lawrence is finally taking a step with Liam Cohen, so I don't have to worry about that either, because you're thinking about all these spots where quarterbacks in the pros, are going to, like, Houston's got to be thinking like, damn, do we have the right guy right now?
Well, I remember I really questioned the firing of Bobby Slowick. I didn't think that was dude, because this year it's like CJ, he looks lost out there. He just looks lost, and he's making some terrible decisions.
It definitely looks bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, who's your projected, I guess, way too early? I mean, you just named a couple of them, teams to basically you think are going to be in the playoff, national title contention. Obviously, you said Texas, you said Ohio State.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know who would be a surprise. Like, who's going to be the Ole Miss this year? Is what does Ole Miss look like next year? I did hear that they think that Chambliss might have won his appeal.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know
if he does. That changes everything for them. Obviously, they don't have to go out because we don't know who their quarterback is outside of Chambliss. If he comes back, you got to put them in contention. Obviously, you like with Lane, you got to put LSU in contention. I don't think they're going to be great, but I'm trying to think who else.
What does Georgia do this year?
Yeah, they're going to be better. I mean, they got a lot of their guys back. They lost a couple. But, I think, what the other thing is I keep thinking about is at some point we got to stop talking about they lost this guy and this, you know what I'm saying, with the portal and all of that.
Yeah.
It just is what it is until
everybody's losing.
Everyone's losing people. Yeah. Like I say, what does Washington do with Damon Williams? He's shown to be a special, but it all comes down to schedules, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to schedules. Like, what can James Franklin do at Virginia Tech? Clearly, Matt Campbell brought half his team to Penn State. So the transition for Penn State may not be that bad, because if you look at their schedule, it is god-awful, and they got 1 or 2 games. So don't be surprised if Penn State wins 9 or 10 games. And then, of course, in the Great Northwest, you got Oregon. So my top 3 right now, 3 or 4 would probably be Texas would probably be 1. Ohio State would probably be 2, 3. Oregon would be in the top 3 between those 3. And then if Chambliss comes back, that would probably be my top 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, who you think?
Yeah, that's pretty much who I'm saying. I think what I want to see is what does Alabama do in year 3 with DeBoer? And no Ty Simpson, now he's gone. What does that team look like? Because they definitely have not been who they would consider, obviously losing Saban. Like, they just haven't been who they are.
Right.
The other 2 teams that I'm kind of interested in see how they go is, what does Texas Tech do again? Do they basically, I know they've basically bought the farm, are they going to retool and be right back in this thing?
Yeah.
And then, obviously Notre Dame is going to be an interesting study. And then I want to see what A&M and Mike Elko and those guys do. Those are my watch. Yeah. Those are my watch out teams. Here's another one. Can Vandy repeat what they did this year with no Diego Pavia? Like, what is Vandy? We're talking about Vandy right now. Like, Vandy basically,
it's a lot of.
Are they a top 10 team? Like, going into
it's a lot of what. It's a shit ton of what ifs and who's
like
this and that.
The Gators, as far as like our teams go, obviously I think the Canes are going to be good. The Gators is going to boil down to if Philo can run Faulkner's offense, which he definitely hand selected him. Or if Trammell beats Philo out, then, like I said, obviously, they're going to go to the best man.
Well, not just that. What will be the offense? I don't expect it. Obviously, it's clearly not going to be what we saw.
No. Yeah.
Just running up the middle.
Definitely not.
I'm curious to see that as well. And then the defense, the Florida defense, do they round in, how do they get that front seven back to what we expect the
Right.
Gators front seven to be? Because but not just Miami and Indiana. I think a lot of the teams in the playoffs showed I think in today's age, everyone just cares about wide receiver and quarterback and running back and DBs. If you care about that, go watch 7-on-7. If you don't have those trenches, you're not going to win football games. You're not going to win championships.
Like I say, the two best teams in the country. We talked about it all year with Miami, how your offensive line was big, strong, fast, physical, and you were going to lean on the run game, and it was going to be there. We knew what Bain and Mesidor were. We knew that Moton would come along and be a beast. We knew that all season. Most dominating O&D line. And then you look at Indiana, really veteran, great offensive line group that did really well and did exactly what they
well
do.
Together.
And then Indiana's defense, those guys were really good, and they're really good at the scheme that they do. You know what I'm saying? So
right. But not just them. Texas Tech. Their offensive line was pretty good. D-line was really good.
Their D-line was really good. Oregon had a really good defense. Yeah, you look at the teams who kind of were in it towards the end here. They had good lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You go back to think about some of those Gator teams that won that. I know we had high-flying offenses, but we had really good defensive lines too that won those national titles. In the 06 and 08 teams. Those D-lines were good. And then the offense
you had the pounces on offense.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you have to have, you want to have a great quarterback play. Yeah, you got to have a guy like a Jaden Ball, but I mean, again, what does Jaden Ball get you? He rushed for over 1,000 yards. We won 4 games. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to put it all together and have collective groups. So
like I said, even Ohio State last year with their 2 lines of scrimmage and that was their problem this season. Their offensive line was it was hidden all season. You just didn't see it. Because of the teams they played, and it didn't get exploited until the end of the year when they had to play Indiana and they had to play Miami.
Right. No, for sure. They definitely got exploited in those games because those guys were just as good and they played a little bit better. And, that's why, case in point, the Canes beat them, and that's why Indiana beat them. Like I said, those 3 teams, I think, in my opinion, were the 3 best teams in the country all year. And, obviously Ohio State was undefeated all the way to the end there when they lost to Indiana. And that's why that when we did the pod last week and we're breaking it down, this is the common opponent you want to look at. This Ohio State is the best team that both of these teams played. Ohio State played these 2 teams really tough. And then Indiana and Miami both beat this team. And it was literally within a week of each other, and it was only 3 weeks, prior to the playoff starting, So it was this is why this game is going to be a bloodfest. The only way it wasn't is if Miami just made a ton of mistakes like Oregon did and just handed over, 14 points. And they gave them the free 7. But, for the most part, Miami did enough to stay in the game and be in the game and be all the way in it until the end. So, like I say, hats off to both teams. Both teams are freaking ballers. So now you got to go into your transition window. What does the teams look like next year? And that's going to be the big task. And, that's what we got to wait another damn off season to go, and it's man, it ends, and you're man, now we got to wait. Now you got to get through, you got a couple NFL, you got a couple more weeks of the NFL. The NFL's almost over, so now we're on to college basketball.
Speaking of NFL, you think of the 4 teams that are left, what are their strong suits? Their lines of scrimmage.
Yeah, no, for sure. The defensive lines are really good.
Crazy. I think Seattle. I think Seattle's the favorite for me.
Seattle's defensive line's off the chain. Denver's defensive line's pretty damn good. New England's defensive line's pretty good. And
even LA's.
The Rams. You got to. I love Fisk, and I like Verse and those guys. Those guys get after.
Yeah.
No, and I guess the other part about it too is all of them have had pretty damn good quarterback play. It sucks that Bo Nix is out.
I was about to say, you still in the NFL more. I mean, I think college is caught up to where you got to have a good trigger man, a guy that doesn't make mistakes and all of that. But I think, Sam Darnold, as long as Sam Darnold doesn't throw the ball away, Seattle's the favorite, man.
He's been playing good ball. He's been protecting.
He's been playing lights out. Exactly. And like you say, it's still hard to root out Matt Stafford just because he has Puka. Not saying Puka and Devontae make him I think Matt Stafford is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks,
Yeah, I mean,
and it just helps that he has those two guys.
Definitely. And then, like I said, our run game's been pretty good with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. Like I said, the Rams are by no means, those two games they played against Seattle in the regular season were freaking crazy games too. So what's to think that this next one's not going to be crazy, so
right.
It is what it is, man. Like I say, your Bears. I jumped on the bandwagon watching those games with you and Steve the last, 3 or 4 games of the year, and it was like,
damn, until they're out.
Do I just need to turn this on with 5 minutes to go? I mean, it was pretty wild. Like, I was like, it's almost like you guys are too good. Why are you screwing around here to win this thing?
They're bored.
The last minute of the game.
It's like they're. What's funny too is like when you watch them at home. Most home teams, the fans would be like, "We're out of here. We're leaving. We're gonna lose,"
right.
And that place is packed until the very end. Like it just got to that point. Like I said, I still can't believe he made that throw on 4th and 4.
Yeah,
like that was amazing.
Did you see the video today? Before we get out of here, the video today of the owner of the Bills with the GM
show.
I'm like, wow. They were like, yeah, we didn't really want Keon Coleman. That was all on the coaches. And
but it's funny. It's funny that someone else posted a video of Bean talking about it at the combine, talking about we like that 40 time when he ran a 4.57. That helps us get him. So it's like, who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Owner, why don't you just sit back and not say anything? Yeah, a lot of people have been roasting them, and I wish they had a close up. I didn't get. They panned to the owner. I wish I could have seen Bean's face when the owner was saying that.
Like, shut up, bro. Shut up, man.
Yeah, you're not making this easy, but
yeah.
We got 2 more weeks of football before your favorite league start up in the USFL and the XFL or whatever the heck it is that I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, I will not watch that either. So
I'm checked out until August.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, we'll take at least Gator basketball has kind of gotten back on track a little bit. We'll see if they can go on a little run. Guard play playing a little better.
By the Canes last night to Florida State.
I saw that.
It's like, hey man, we can't lose to our rivals. We've lost to Florida State and Florida.
Yeah.
Outside of those 2 games, they've had a pretty good season. So
yeah.
It don't matter. Buddy, it's gonna be Arizona.
Yeah, Michigan looks good.
Or Duke or Michigan.
Yeah. Duke looks good for sure. Like I say, UConn looks good. So, like I say, hopefully the Gators can get a good draw and you get an upset or something. And they can make their way back to the Final Four.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, dog. Check out.
Fun season.
Enjoyed the college football season. Enjoyed talking college football with my dog. Canes did it. They got to the Natty, but couldn't pull it out, man. Couldn't pull it out. So until the 2026 season, everyone go hit the bell, hit the dinger, subscribe, talk some trash. We'll holler at your boy. And until the next time, Peace. Go Gators. Go Gators.